Hi, Baden. Hi, Shannon. Hi, Quinn. Say hi, everybody. Wave to them. Yeah, because they're going to be. You guys, come on closer. So what I want to do today is talk about fuel system, fuel injection layout. You can see it on the screen pretty clear, but I would like you to be able to see what we're doing here. So this is a transverse mounted engine. You can see the belts. Well, you can kind of see the belt down there. It's a 4-cylinder, 1, 2, 3, 4 spark plugs, wires, 1, 2, 3, 4 electrical connectors for injectors, 1, 2, 3, 4 intake manifold runner tubes. So the fuel system on this car consists of a fuel pump in the tank. It consists of a fuel pressure driver module that's back under the rear seat. And it consists of a stainless steel fuel rail with 1, 2, 3, 4 injectors, and then the wiring going to it. This is a fuel pressure sensor right here on the fuel rail. If you look on the screen, you can see it. And there's a quick disconnect for this fuel. This car is what we call a returnless system. It does not have a line going back to the tank. The way this works is this guy senses the pressure, tells the computer what the fuel pressure is, and the computer turns on and off the pump. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this for just a second and set this thing up. So ask yourself the question, is this a really simple fuel system? It is. It's super simple. There just aren't many parts. 4 injectors, a stainless rail, that fuel pressure regulator. Underneath the interior fuse panel, there's, the engine fuse panel, there's probably a fuel pump relay. Actually, this one has a separate module down here on the fender well, and there's a fuel pump relay in there. One of these fuses is probably a fuse for the fuel pump. How do we know? You guys, I want to take the mystery out of this. The way we know is we go to the wiring diagram. So we go over to the wiring diagram and we can quickly figure it out. So let's just look at the layout. And I'm trying to do this. Hold this for a second. I'm going to minimize this. And I don't know how it'll look to them on the camera, but let's go. Let me minimize this. Let me close this. It's still recording, in case you're wondering. I'm going to go to Pro Demand. And why don't you kind of bring this forward just so they can see a little bit. I'm going to log in. And I'm going to log in. And this is a 99 Ford Escort. Now look, you guys, this is the part where I know as a teenager, like, how do I find stuff? Where is things? How do I figure this out? Watch closely. Just go over here. No, that was not what I wanted to do. Go here to Ford. Go to Escort. Go to 2 liter. Is it VIN 3 or VIN P? I'm going to look at the VIN number. And it's a P. The 8th digit's a P. So it's this one. So obviously there's 2 different engines. It doesn't matter, LX or SE, that's just trim stuff. It's got an automatic transmission. I'm going to use this vehicle. You guys get the negative disconnected? It's on this side.
Oh, it's already disconnected. Yeah.
No, it's not. Look, it's a side terminal. See the side terminal? And then watch here. We go to wiring diagrams. Now I can search. The search function on this has gotten a lot better. You guys are the Google age. You guys search everything, and I understand. And it does work pretty good now. It didn't used to work very good. I tend not to. It's just my preference. So I'm going to go to System Wiring Diagrams. And I'm going to go down here and see it says Engine Performance. That's where you're going to find the engine stuff. And there's the 2 liter. Now, when I scroll up, first thing on here, it says Engine Performance Circuit, 2 liter, 1 of 3. So there's 3 pictures. Well, look right here. You've got a fuel pump relay right here. And that's inside what's called a constant control relay module. Everything in that box, that dashed line, is this PCM power relay and this fuel pump relay. And then there's a fuel pump fuse, the 30 amp fuse, thank you, over in the battery junction box. Now I look here and I go, well, which one is it? Well, 40 amp, 100 amp. There's only one fuse that's 30 amp. It's right there. Okay? So I guess that's the fuel pump fuse. Now, what would I do if I didn't know? If I didn't know, watch how I do it. Like, let's say, I don't know where this thing is, this constant control relay. I don't know where the fuel pump fuse is. And then watch this. Go down a little bit. And you'll notice there's a fuel injection fuse. This says battery junction box. This says central junction box. Ford's terminology. Battery junction box is under the hood. Central junction box inside the car. F-150. You don't have a Ford. No, you do have a Ford, don't you? And then who else has a Ford? Which one is it?
Mustang.
Okay, so battery junction box under the hood, central junction box inside the car. What year?
96.
I think it will still be the same. It was the older ones, they didn't call it that, but I think 96 they will call it this. I could be wrong.
It's like the classic.
Is it?
Stuff,
okay.
So.
Yeah, so it might not. So if you look down at the bottom here, I don't see anything fuel system related. Let's go over here. I'm looking for the fuel pump right now. Oh, guess what? This car's got an inertia switch. It's got an anti-rollover switch that cuts power to the pump. So if this car gets in a hard accident or rolls over, this switch kills power to the pump. Really fun on your car. And I'm going to show you where it is. On your car, it's on the tip panel inside. I'm pretty sure you can whack it with a screwdriver. And, well, it's nice because you can disable it when you're parked in some place where you're afraid of somebody stealing your truck. This one is it's either in the trunk or underneath. I'm going to show you how we find out where it is. Then you see this fuel pump driver module? It says on left rear quarter panel. Left rear quarter panel. This is left, right? Driver's side. This is quarter panel, right? It's in the trunk. And we'll check and make sure it's there in just a moment. We'll see if it is. And then this should go to the pump. So let's see where the pump is. There's the pump right there. You guys, on these wiring diagrams, whenever you find a motor, it's going to say M with a circle and two little rectangles. So it'll do that for a power steering pump. It won't do it for power steering pump. It'll do it for any electrical pump, like a windshield wiper motor or a door lock actuator or something like that. So there's the pump. And it says inside fuel tank. How do you get to that? Well, if you go to the remove and replace service manual in this, guess what it's going to tell you? Lift up the rear seat. There's a plate. You unscrew it, and you can see the top of the tank, and there's 4 more bolts, and you can lift the pump out from the back seat. That's how they get to it. Okay, but now, let's say you didn't have me around to ask me questions, and you're trying to do this on your own. How do I know where to find that stuff? See, it says component locations. Click there. Go to electronic component locator. The ZX2 is a special high performance Escort, if there is such a thing. I promise you, none of them are high performance. Anyways, so we'll go to, first let's go to motor or fuel pump. I think they're going to call it a motor. They don't have pumps down there. Let's go to motors. Let's see if they have a fuel pump motor. Nope, they don't. So what are they going to call it? See if it's under miscellaneous. Yep, nope, fuel pump diode. Okay. So let's do this. Let's look for switches, solenoids. I doubt it's going to be under solenoids. Well, sorry, we already know the pump's in the tank, right? So we don't need to look for that. But that fuel pump driver module is going to be a control unit, I think. Let's see where it shows that. There it is, fuel pump driver module on left rear quarter panel. Well, we already saw that too. What about the inertia switch? So we got to go to switches. Let me close this. See here, go back to component locations, click on here, and see it says switches. So let's go to fuel inertia switch. There it is, inertia fuel shutoff switch. Bottom left of A pillar. Now that's confusing to me. Oh, A pillar's here, right? Pretty sure there it is. Yeah, there is the fuel. Okay, there it is. Let me show you guys let me do this for just a second. Let me just pull this back up. Okay, there it is. So I'm going to go inside. Thanks. So you guys in here. So here's the inertia switch right here. You see this red button there? So, can you grab me a large flat blade screwdriver off the tool panel? What I'm going to do is I'm going to smack that thing, and you're going to see the car's going to die, or it's not going to. So I'll get it running, and I'll smack it. So when I smack it, you're going to see the red button's going to pop up. Here we go. Ready? See that button popped up? And the car's going to die. And now if I try and start it, nothing. I push the button down. Okay. So once again, and I'll reset it and shut it off. Okay. So that's an inertia switch. So how many car thieves, which are usually stealing cars because they're druggies, right? Typically, not always. How many car thieves do you think know about inertia switches? I don't know. It's only on Fords. And the new model Fords is not. That car does not have an inertia switch. You know why? They've put the circuit in with the airbag sensor. So if any airbag sensor deploys an airbag, it automatically shuts the fuel pump off. So they just eliminated a part, is what they did. Let me pause for a moment so I can check in with these guys for just a second. So if you want to have a good anti-theft system, you could pop the inertia switch, or if you come back here, pull the carpet back, see the wire right there? Can you guys see that? Just unplug that right there. There's a connector there, and just unplug it, because if the thief's going fast and it doesn't want to start, and he happens to be a Ford owner thief, and he knows where the inertia switch and he just resets it, then he can start the car. But I'm a big fan of installing switches, hidden switches, to kill your fuel pump. I've done it on a lot of cars for people. Okay, so let's look for that fuel pump driver module. I'm going to open the trunk and see if I can get all the way back here. 1 second. Let me grab the key and see if I can stretch the. Looks like I may not make it all the way back here. Okay, I'm just barely going to make it. So inside here, in the trunk, I'm looking for the driver module. And, okay, I don't see the fuel pump driver module, but they said it's here. And so it's probably, it said on the left, I got something crawling on me. It said on the left quarter panel. So I'm looking underneath here, and I'm not seeing it. So you guys, I'm not seeing it, so it might be in the trunk. Let me look here one more time. Yeah, I don't see it. So I'm not sure where that driver module is. I would have to go search a little bit, and this may be one of the times when I put it on the rack and check it out, or I may go to YouTube and see what I can find out. But I didn't see the fuel pump driver module. Okay, so here's what I want to do now, and this is, how can we confirm that this car has fuel? Now look, can everybody smell the bad gas right now? Who smells it? You smell the foul smell? Nobody does? You do? So it's coming out of this Ford truck, because that Ford truck's been sitting on a ranch for the last decade. And we've been running it, but we've been running it by putting a hose into a fuel tank. We're not even dealing with the gas tank yet. By the way, I got the thing running amazing on Thursday. It ran so good for like 20 minutes, and all of a sudden it just died. And it didn't want to restart, or started rough and didn't want to start. Next morning, Friday, I came in, started and ran perfect for like 20 minutes, and then did the same thing. I think what's going on is there's a resistor wire that cuts the voltage down from alternator charging system voltage down to about 9 volts. And I think that resistor wire is gone bad. And I think what happens is after about 20 minutes, it's heating up and not giving the coil enough power. I'm going to test it later today and find out. But anyways, just telling you. So how do we know this thing has fuel? So how do we know I'm out of gas? All right, what if the gas gauge is down, below a quarter tank? Now look, from my standpoint, because we've had lots of cars be towed into this. Hey, you guys, by the way, you're not hurting the cables by hanging it, are you? Okay, if you want, you can put this underneath to give you some help if you want. Okay, all right. So, um, so, so I assume if you've got a quarter tank or less than a quarter tank, I'm going to tell you you've got to add gas, because I've had cars come in where it said there was a quarter tank and it wouldn't start because the gas gauge wasn't accurate. So whenever I see a car that's below a quarter tank, unless the person knows for sure that it runs fine below that, I'm going to say add some gas. Secondly, here's what I'm going to do. So we got a car. We got a no start situation. It cranks but no starts. I want to know if I got gas. The fuel level's low. I'm going to go back here to the car like this. I'm going to pop this guy open. I'm going to take the cap off. I'm going to come over here and ask, come shake the car for me, okay, Ben? Just shake the back of the car. And I'm listening to see if I can hear any gas sloshing around. Go ahead. I can't tell. I cannot tell if there's any gas sloshing around. Well, by the way, this fuel tank is, I think it's out of gas, but the gas gauge right now with the ignition off says it's full. I don't know if that's its default position. So the gas tank says it's full with the key on. So guess what? That thing isn't reading right, is it? Well, I know it's not because I know it doesn't have much gas in it. All right. So what do we want to do? The pump, the fuel pump's back here. Can you guys all walk back here? The fuel pump is in the tank. I want to see if I can hear if the fuel pump's running. So please appreciate what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do, you guys, is I'm trying to show you, if you got a car that doesn't start, it's an injected car, how do you diagnose if you actually have fuel? So I'm going to see if I can, here's the plate, there's the seat. Well, guess what? Somebody's got the plate off already. So the plate's off. Can you guys see it on the screen? There's the pump right there. There's the fuel line. So what I'm going to do is, so that the key beeper isn't going to make noise. Uh-oh, you almost did it, didn't I? That was close. Okay, so what I want to do is ask you guys to all come over by the car really close, because I'm going to ask you to see if you can hear the pump cycling. Elise, once you hold the camera, I'm going to turn the key on. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Wait, 1, 3. Did anybody hear it go buzz for about a second? Mm-hmm. Listen again. Put your head in there if you can't. Listen carefully. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah. Did you hear that? Yeah. Okay. So you probably, were you able to hear it? Okay. You hear the little buzzing? If you have like a 90s Vortec Chevy truck, van, Yukon, they have a really high-pitched whine. You can hear them like 10 yards from the car. You can hear them really loud. They're high-pitched whine. So we know the fuel pump's running. Okay, but let me give you a little more scientific thing. Come on up here. Let me give you a little more scientific way of knowing the fuel pump's running. Watch this. I'll come up here. I'll pull this 30 amp fuse out. I got the 30 amp fuse out. And yeah, I want you to hold it there. I'm going to grab a voltmeter. You guys, sometimes when I teach, I'm thinking like, this is how I'm thinking when I'm doing what I'm doing today. I'm thinking like, some of these people may actually fix cars in their lives for a living. I gotta get them ready to know how to figure out. Because like, how do you know the fuel pump's running properly? You don't know. Okay, we got a car that doesn't, let's say we got a car that doesn't want to start. Now you could say, Mr. L, I would have checked spark quick before first, and I would say, I agree with you. I would have checked spark too. And I'll show you again how I'll do that. Hey, so look at this meter and look on the screen. Look on the screen, it'll show you guys. So I'm going to go to amps, down here, 20 amp. I'm going to move this dial all the way to 20 amp. I'm going to take the red lead out and put it down here where it says 20 amp. Now look, I'm on 20 amps here and 20 amps here and CON for common there. If I hook these leads up to the battery, I'm going to blow the 20 amp fuse in this meter instantly because the battery can deliver 600 amps. So this is a little scary to tell a team leader to do this. It doesn't hurt the meter, but it just means I got to take the back off and replace the fuse. I don't want to have to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hook this up. I'm going to get another 20 lead. Take this alligator lead off. And what I'm going to try and do is run the pump. If I have this fuse out, this fuse is out right here. So if I connect these meter leads, sorry, there it is. If I connect these meter leads to these two terminals where this 30 amp fuse went, listen for a moment. Can you go back? Ben, go put your head in the back of the car and tell me if you hear the pump run right now.
No.
Okay, all right. So I don't know if the pump's going to run, but can you put the camera on the screen? I'm sorry, on the screen of the first guy. Yeah. Okay, so what I want you to do is, can you do a favor for me? Ben, can you cycle the key off and then on? Watch the meter, if you will, you guys. Okay, do you see it go up to like 3 amps? So watch again. Here we go. 1 second. Okay, off. Key off. Okay, key on. So it went all the way up to 4.7, and it went down to like 1. Now let me do it one more time. Off. Now on. Okay, it went to like only up to about 2, about 1.3, and it's staying at 1.3 amps. Okay, so I don't know if the pump was running at a low level or if that was just for something else, but we saw the meter go as high as 4 amps. Okay, now, why do you think it went less average the second time? Probably because it was already charged with fuel, and so it didn't take as much. Now watch, let's try it. We let it sit here for a second. Let's do it again. Let's see if it goes up to about 4. Off, on. Yep, it did. It went to about 4.9 amps and dropped down again to 1.3. So what is that telling us? The meter is telling us that we know the pump's running because it's drawing 4 amps. By the way, why does it go up to like 4 and then drop down? Because if the crankshaft position sensor doesn't give the computer a cranking signal in a second or two, what does the computer know? You're running the pump with the key on, but you're not cranking the engine. So I want to shut the pump off. Isn't that kind of a safety thing? Yeah, it is. Because if you get in an accident, the engine's shut off, we want to shut the pump off and other things like that. I'm going to take this out, put it back over here, put this back immediately over to off, so the next student that comes and uses this doesn't come into the battery and blow the fuse. So this meter, I just showed you a function of this meter that's super helpful for professional technicians. Do you have any doubt in your mind that that pump's running? No, no doubt in my mind at all. That pump is running. Do I think from experience, I happen to know that 3 to 4 amps is a normal current draw for a pump. Okay, let's pause for 1 second. What now is we got a car that cranks but doesn't start. We know the fuel pump's running. We heard it audibly, and we call that current ramping. We measured the current draw, and it was drawing current. So the pump's running. But how do we know if the injectors are flashing? We don't. So we're going to grab a tool called a noise light, and grab it. I put it out here. have a couple ways of trying to decide if a fuel injector is actually working. I'm going to ask Elise to bring the camera closer and just, yeah, right down in there. I'm going to take the screwdriver, point it at me for a second. I'm going to take the screwdriver and I'm going to listen to the injector and see if I can hear it tapping. Could you start the engine? I'm going to put it on the injector right here. I want you to look down there. So I can hear it plain as day. I can take the stethoscope and put the stethoscope to it, and it's really, really loud. Come on, kid. Come on, kid. You're good, kid. Put that on here. Okay. Share the COVID. Here we go. Hear it clicking? Real loud? Oh, yeah. It's really loud, isn't it? Okay, so shut the clock for just a second. So, allow me to kind of go back a little bit so I can talk. You just put that on right there. So, Mr. O'Connor's car came in the winter, and it's a Subaru. It was running on 3 cylinders, and I got tricked because I listened to the injector. It had a cylinder that was making no power, spark, and everything was good. I listened to the injector, and it was ticking like crazy. The injector's running. It wasn't running though. You know what's happening? On that engine, there's 2 injectors about 4 or 5 inches apart. The noise of this injector was reverberating down the metal fuel line and making it sound like this one was firing. How did I figure it out? I was checked all kinds of things, couldn't figure out what was wrong. Finally, I woke up and got a Noid light. This is a Noid light. It's got 2 little prongs. It's got a little bulb in here. You say, Mr. O, can we use a regular test light? No, because a 12-volt test light, these usually run on 5 volts, and so it won't light up a 12-volt test light. But watch what happens. If I think this injector's got an issue, and I plug this Noid light in, go ahead and crank the car and watch what happens on the Noid light. Just let it start. Can you see it flashing? Nope. There it is. Oh. There we go. I didn't have it plugged in right. So now you can see it flashing, right? So, is that injector being flashed? Sure is. So now, look you guys, if we got gas in the tank, and the fuel pump's running, and the injectors are being triggered on and off, we don't have a fuel problem. Everybody agree? We could have, let's say it didn't want to start at this point, we could have an ignition problem, or could we have a timing belt that slipped timing and it's not running? Yes, that happens once in a while. By the way, when we got this car donated, it was underwater. It was on a lot in Omaha, Nebraska. It was a huge train yard. I was there in Omaha a week and a half ago and actually drove over the train yard. Do you have an idea how many tracks there is? There was about 25 tracks side by side. I mean, it's enormous train yard. And this was on a yard. They'd gotten off a train, was sitting on this giant lot. The Platte River overflowed, and it had water to the headrest. Soot from the Platte River. Mud went on the timing gear. When they tried to start it, the belt rode up on the mud and slipped timing, and the car wouldn't start. So when we got it, we took the timing belt off, cleaned it, relined it back up, and started. So here's what I'm going to do. How do we confirm spark? What's the right way to confirm spark? The simplest way, you've got a standard Phillips screwdriver, happens to have the same diameter as a spark plug wire fitting. This fits right in. It's on there. Now what I'm going to do is come right over and hold it about a quarter or half inch away from, come on, you guys come close so you can see. You can also see there on the screen. Go ahead and start the car or crank it. I can't get shocked because I got the insulated handle. There's the spark, right? You can see it plain as day. Shut it off. Okay. So I know I have spark, don't I? By the way, did that spark look nice and white blue? Sure did. That's a strong spark. These coils can make like 100,000 volts. They're really strong. Um, so, so what I just did was I showed you how to confirm spark and how to confirm fuel injection pump and all that. Okay. So on this car, on this truck, it's really unsophisticated. It just has a carburetor and it has an ignition coil with a set of points that open and close. It's making spark, but the spark is terrifically weak, especially when it's not running right. It actually sparks intermittently. I think the resistor wire that goes from the ignition switch to the coil is defective. Just so I can show it to you. What do you think?
It doesn't hold in there.
It doesn't hold in?
So one that you can see there's two holes in each one. Yeah, but this one's further out.
Okay. So here's the new resistor wire. And why do you think it's in a sheath like this? Probably because it gets warm, because it's going to provide resistance, so it's going to get hot. And this wire is supposed to cut the voltage down. The reason why they did this on old cars like this is because if you left it full charging system voltage, it would burn the points out prematurely. So I think this wire is defective on that. I don't know that for sure. I'm going to do a little testing to figure out. But anyways, can we all agree that we got a kind of good refresher on how to check spark? And the first time you've seen a Noid light to check injector flash. By the way, on that Subaru, what had happened was a rat had eaten through one of the wires to the injector. And as soon as I plugged in the Noid light, I knew it was wrong. Because the car would run, but that cylinder wasn't making any power, and there was no injector flash. And I was like, what on earth? I heard the injector flashing, and I realized the noise was reverberating down the fuel line from the other injector, and I got tripped. Okay, dumb Mr. L. And then it took us about 2 minutes to find where the rat had eaten through the wire. It was actually in the harness underneath the intake manifold, but we were able to kind of pull it back and we saw it. I had to disconnect a couple of things. I resoldered the wire together and the car was fixed. Okay, less than that. All right, let's stop there.